You Booked It, episode 85. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainment professionals 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to have a successful entertainment career. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainment professionals. We're here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community, where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating, and review. And now, let's do this. All right, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Kimberly Suskind. Are you ready for this, Kimberly?
Yes, I'm so excited.
All right. Kimberly is an accomplished, award-winning performer of stage and screen, arts educator, and casting director. She earned her BFA in musical theater from the Boston Conservatory, where she was awarded the Sue Ronson Levy TAP Scholarship towards her degree. Kimberly has worked as a professional actress at many regional theaters across the country, including Walnut Street Theater, Cape May Stage, Delaware Theater Company, The Theater Barn, Eagle Theater, Bucks County Playhouse, Nightcap Cabaret, Metro Stage Company, Village Theater and Civic Light Opera, and a few favorite credits include Ragtime, Little Women, John and Jen, and Anything Goes. Kimberly can currently be heard on the democast recording of Brilliant, a new musical where she originated the lead role of Sarah. In addition to performing, she is a voiceover teacher, audition prep, and acting coach, as well as a casting director for K&N Dance and Entertainment based in Greater Philadelphia. Kim, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps, who you are, where you're from, and a little bit more about what you do in the entertainment industry.
Sure. So I'm currently living in beautiful Fort Myers, Florida right now, having moved from the greater Philadelphia area in March, just in time for everything to get shut down by COVID. Woohoo!
Yay!
Yay! I can't really say where I'm originally from because I moved every couple years of my life growing up, but I like to say I'm from Seattle since that's where I went to high school. Let's see, I am currently working on two really exciting things right now. One being an extremely responsible, social distanced, stay at home production of the musical Disenchanted with the Theater Lab in Fort Myers here. It's amazing, but it's also quite strange as the casts will never be in the same room as each other throughout the process. But we're recording our vocal parts in a recording studio and our individual blocking on stage alone. And then the wonderful marketing director slash editing extraordinaire is going to be patching everything together to then broadcast out to our stay-at-home audiences. So it really feels like theater in the future.
Yeah.
But that's a really exciting thing right now. And then I'm also developing a wonderful training and performance theater program for Rob and Dawn Academy here in Fort Myers for ages 6 to 18. So that's what's currently occupying my time.
Very good. I love it. And let's move on to this next section here. And Kimberly, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What's your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
This one's going to sound super cheesy, but I'm a huge Disney nerd, and I am loving Dory's quote from Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming.
I love it. Yeah. And can you expand on that a little bit and how you've applied that quote into your career and your life?
Absolutely. I think it goes without saying that we're living in very trying times physically and emotionally. And I've just been using it as a light mantra to remind myself to stay focused and ride it through the best I can, knowing that eventually we will get through to the other side.
Yes, absolutely. And let's move on to this next section here. And Kimberly, look, of course, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer, and I think that you'd agree. This industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally
Hmm.
emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, of course, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
No, absolutely. I think the biggest challenge I personally had as a performer, as many have had before me, is the challenge to be unique and to stand out in a field where it seems everyone around you at any particular time is the same type as you.
Hmm.
The truth that I found is that you stand out when you are putting your heart into whatever you're doing. So, whether it's an audition song you love to sing or a technique you're passionate about teaching, I think that when you truly love something, your uniqueness will shine through without even trying.
Yeah, I so agree. And you're so right that instead of doing that, I think a lot of our initial default setting is to lean on what other people have done or try to be what other people are, what we see or perceive as being the right
Absolutely.
thing to do or the successful thing to do. And
Right.
we don't, for the most part, don't initially start trusting ourselves and trusting that we're enough, that what we have to share is enough.
It's so true. And oftentimes you'll compare yourself, and that just leads you down a bad road. And you want to uplift other performers and not feel like you're always competing with them because they're in the same boat as you most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all in this together.
That's going to be my head the rest of the day now.
Yep, sorry about that.
That's okay. I'll forgive you. I said I'm a Disney nerd, so I
There you
had it
go.
coming.
Let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think this one goes way back to when I was about 6 years old, which also happens to be when the theater bug bit me. I was probably the only 6-year-old in my first grade class that was absolutely sure of what I was going to be doing when I grew up. There's actually this great and ridiculous story that my family loves to tell about. One time we were in Olive Garden having dinner, and at that time, at 6, I was absolutely obsessed with Dolly Parton and Whitney Houston. And Whitney's "I Will Always Love You" came on the radio in the restaurant, and don't you know, little Kimmy just jumped up and started full out belting the
Yeah.
song with with Whitney. So obnoxious. But people in the restaurant, I think, were pretty stunned and probably annoyed, but cheered for me anyway when I was done. And honestly, I think I just fell in love with the attention. Being the second child, I think I was always thrilled when the attention was on me. So after my first professional theater experience at 8, I was absolutely hooked and I just never looked back.
I love that story. It's so funny.
So
And it's so
obnoxious.
true because now my daughter will stand out in the yard and just sing to the neighborhood,
I
just
love it
but at
though.
the
Don't
top
you
of her
wish we could
lungs.
be I wish we could be more unbridled like that, but then I guess it would be a very loud world. Louder than it
It
already
certainly
is.
would. Yeah. All right, let's piggyback on that question real quick and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Oh, it's such a tough question, but I think off the top of my head, my number one booked it moment came when I was living in New York City. I was auditioning for a million summer stocks, like we all do in our early 20s,
Mm.
and just was feeling a little exhausted by the grind of getting up at the ungodly hour, but convinced myself to go on one more audition, which happened to be for the Theater Barn in upstate New York. So they were doing Young Frankenstein, which I just love it. I watch it every Halloween because I do not watch scary movies. So that's like my Halloween tradition, that and Harry
Yep.
Potter. So I went in just expecting the usual experience. And when I walked in, the energy in the room just, it felt different. It was friendly and warm and it just felt awesome. So I sang my cut and then the dreaded what else do you have was asked. And the accompanist started flipping. Yeah, it's terrifying. The accompanist started flipping through my book. And of course, my heart's pounding. And he happened to land on another song that was like my other go to,
Oh,
which is truly a miracle because that never happens. They always usually pick the song that you haven't touched since like freshman year in college that shouldn't even still be in your book. So I feel like I lucked out, but I finished, they thanked me and I walked out and I kept telling myself that either way, it was just a really great experience. And those can be so rare when you're auditioning. And I got an email later that day for a callback and went in the next day, and that went equally as well. Just felt really connected to the room. So I left feeling good. I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks, and so I had let it go. But then that moment came when that exciting 212 area code call came in.
yeah.
And yes, it's such a moment. And I was cooking dinner and they offered me the summer. And honestly, it was such a great experience. I worked there then the following summer also. And it just honestly getting that moment just felt it felt great to feel like I stood out to them and knowing that they felt the same energy match as I did, and it renewed my belief in myself and just to keep pushing for my goals that eventually things will happen if you keep going for it.
Yeah, I love how you said that the energy match. And
Yeah.
I can 100% relate to that. Every single thing that I have literally ever booked has it's been that. It's you walk
Yeah.
into the room
Yeah.
and for whatever reason things just feel different. Things feel in sync with the team, whoever's in that room, and it's such a wonderful feeling, isn't it?
It really is, and I agree. So a lot of the things that I booked, it's been the same way, and I kinda get that sense even in the waiting room. You start to the holding rooms, like, you start to feel like, "This just feels" usually when the monitor's really nice, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, it was very I was felt very fortunate to have that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And look, it is a crazy wild time. We are amidst this
Mhm.
global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm working with the wonderful Robin Dawn on creating a theater training and performance program for her Performing Arts Academy here. We're starting with classes and are looking to start producing cabarets and full scale productions once it's safe to do. So I'm super excited to build a program like this. And I'm so thankful she trusts in me to head up that program. I also mentioned how I'm working on the stay at home production of Disenchanted, which, if you don't know it, is super fun. It's this untold story of the real Disney princesses and their opinions on the way Disney chose to tell their stories. So it's it's hilarious. It's like super empowering and it's just all around ridiculously fun. So those are kind of the two things right now I'm working on.
Fantastic. And it's now time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Probably my fear of failing and my family's expectations of quick success.
Absolutely. And the second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
To know my worth.
Oh, so good. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
I think just doing everything possible to stay creative and really using this time to keep growing and learning as an artist and a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do they say? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's my
Yes.
new favorite quote.
Oh, thank you. I did not come up with that.
We'll give you the credit for now.
Okay, great. Fourth question. What is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
In this age of video submissions galore, definitely my ring light, iMovie is wonderful. The app Piano Tracks, which is a great resource for piano backing tracks if you can't afford a live accompanist, which is always, of course, ideal. And then probably my planner. Honestly, oddly and differently busy right now, and staying organized has been super important.
Perfect. Are you a digital planner or are you a paper planner?
No, I am an old school paper planner. I have to write things down in my multicolored pens in order to have it stick in my head. I've
Totally.
tried digital and I just can't, I don't know, I can't hook into
Fair
it.
enough. It's exactly how my wife is. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm all in on the digital stuff and I love it. But hey.
Yeah. I wish I could be because I wouldn't have to carry this book around with me, but eventually I'll have to bite the bullet and,
Yeah.
and move over digital.
And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I would have put in more work, I think, learning as much as I could. I wouldn't pigeonhole myself right away, and a lot of us do when we first start out. And I would definitely have stuck with ballet and learned an instrument to be as marketable as possible. I can't tell
So
you how much I
good.
regret not doing those two things, those two last things.
Yeah, the musical instrument, I can play piano well enough to teach myself some music. I've
Yeah.
dabbled on guitar, but I never really committed to learning them. And same with you, I really wish I would have done that in my life because I like music in general and I wish I could just entertain myself with the instruments.
No.
But there's such a practicality in this industry. And then, of course, geez, ballet, even though you're probably not going to be a professional ballet dancer, that
Yeah, the
foundation that you
foundation,
need,
exactly.
oh, it's everything.
I know, and luckily I read music, but as far as an instrument, I can plunk, but I certainly can't accompany myself. And luckily my husband plays guitar, so that helps. But I wish we could go out and gig together and do that. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't have ever quit
Yep.
piano. My bad.
Yep. For everyone listening, remember that.
Yes,
And
please.
the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
It's hard. It's rewarding, but it's hard. And I think it's important to find your own place, adjust your goals to be what you really want. Broadway is not the only definition of success, and it's important to reach into other aspects besides performing that fulfill you creatively.
Absolutely. And I love that you said you find your own definition of success. What is it you
Yes.
really want in this industry? Because I think we can probably both speak from personal experience
Hmm.
that when we're growing up, when we're in whatever the training program is, whether it's your local home studio that you've been going to or a conservatory training program in college, you have to really be honest with yourself and think, what do I want out of my career?
Hmm.
What do I
Right.
want? Now, do I want to be on Broadway? And if the question is yes, then you have to take that a level deeper and think, do I want to be on Broadway because I want to be on Broadway? Or
There
because
it
I was
is.
conditioned to want to be on Broadway. And that's
Right.
everything. And Broadway could be quite literally anything, if it's
Right. I
film or
mean,
movie or TV, but whatever that niche or that very specific part of the industry is, why do you really want to be that? And is your dream actually your dream?
exactly. That's the thing. Broadway is wonderful, and who doesn't want a production contract? But at the same time, finding what you want and the balance. I've always wanted a family, I want a full career, and sometimes that's very difficult when you're on Broadway and you're working those hours. And I have many friends that are doing it and have done it, and I'm unbelievably proud of them and jealous at times, of course. But adjusting for me, working regionally or just simply making a living doing something in the arts. That was always my goal, and that's how I really found teaching, and then I found I loved it, and it fulfilled me in a different way than performing, so putting those 2 together really makes me feel well-rounded as an artist.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And to wrap up this interview, Kimberly, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we
Yay.
find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, so I have my website. It's www.kimberlysuskind.com. My Instagram is at Kimmy Sus, and I have an actor page on Facebook that's under Kimberly Suskind. That's where I usually will post anything I'm performing in when things are back up and running, anything I'm helping to cast, or anything I'm promoting.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Kimberly just said in the description of this episode. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here, taking the time to share your journey. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, Dane. This is an amazing project, and I'm so excited to listen to every single episode.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community, where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.